Two mics, so I'll just give them to you guys and then you guys just talk to the audience and whatever. So please give it up for Keshia and Emmett, guys.
Give it up for Corey.
Hi guys.
Hi. Hi.
Welcome.
What
What do you want to talk
What
about?
should we talk about?
Were you both up at 4 a.m?
Yes, I was. Yeah. Great game.
I didn't watch it. I know about
Emmett?
it though. I know about the game.
Yeah, you definitely can't stay in New Zealand much longer.
I got Facebook, so I just check it after it's all done and then just go,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
we
cool.
nailed it.
We did. It was a great game.
Did you guys?
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, didn't watch it. So what's going on? Where do you guys come from today?
Dunedin.
Hastings?
Hastings. Hawke's Bay.
Hawke's Bay?
Brisbane.
Brisbane, that's a long way to come. Up with questions of some kind. Or do you want us to just talk? Just talk. Okay, I'll ask Keshia some questions. So you've been travelling around at the moment, Keshia?
Yep.
Doing quite a bit of filming and flying and conventions. How does it feel to be back in New Zealand?
It's actually really nice to be home. Yeah, I've been away for a while. It's nice to be with my own people. Apart from the people that travelled here. But you guys are
Can't get rid of them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what have I been up to? Been shooting season 6 of Game of Thrones. Yeah, that's all I'm going to tell you. Yeah. What have you been up to, Emma? What have you been doing? Hey, you've got really exciting. You've like moved into a whole new realm. You're not like just an actor anymore. Like you're moving into a hybrid world.
That's true.
Emma's like making his own show.
I forgot about that. I've just finished producing and directing a new show. And it's called Awkward Love, and it's spelled A-U-C-K. Awkward Love.
Yeah.
Auckland, thank you. We're figuring out a way that we could place it somewhere in the world without having to make it obvious, which we probably made it obvious. But yeah, it comes out in about a week, but I mean the trailer's online, if you guys want to look it up, Awkward Love. Look for it, that's cool. But yeah, so basically I in the States, I started to do a lot of writing, and a few of my friends, we started to throw around ideas of what we could do for a series. And what we came up with was what it's like for a female, so it was an all-male writing group, what it was like for a female to face the dating scene in the world today, and what the social expectation is like. They've got to look like this, they've got to think like this, they've got to say these kind of things. So now it's about 4 girls and their quest to help their best friend back onto the dating scene. And a few of our buddies are in it. Dino Gorman's in it, and Ben Barrington's in it. Jared Turner was going to do it, but he didn't want to do a 4 a.m. start, bastard. But yeah, so we have that about to launch, and it's kind of incredible being on the other side of the camera. Being a producer and a director, I didn't realise how much I picked up being an actor of how important it is, for example, to look a certain way rather than another way. You know, it's all storytelling. So what you guys see on camera or on screen, there's so many technical things that go into it. So me being a newbie to the directing and producing, incredible learning curve. And I think we've got a great product, and I think most of you, if not all of you, will probably hate me afterwards, but it's really fun. And there's lots of swearing and lots of boobs, so
I love it.
you guys watch.
So excited.
Yeah. But also, I fly out to China tonight to do a film, and hopefully still get the release done in a week. Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
Busy is good.
But I want to know, Keshia.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding.
What don't you know already?
You guys have any questions? I think we could probably just talk shit all day, which may not be interesting. Well, actually be interesting. From Keshia, maybe not from me. So, yes.
Keshia, we've got a friend who argues that you're Aussie because that's where you were born.
Shocking.
Did you all hear that?
And I was just wondering whether you feel kind of like a little bit Aussie and mainly Kiwi, or half-half, or?
Well, I was born in Western Australia and my dad's Australian, so, but I grew up in New Zealand and I identify very strongly with being Māori, but I also feel a little bit Australian because it's in homage to my father and who he is, so I think it's a good thing to be able to have like your feet in both sides. The rivalry isn't as big as people make it out to be at all, yeah.
It's just because of
It's
sport,
just because it's just this time of year, really,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, that it gets really weird between the two of us. Otherwise, as soon as you're anywhere outside of New Zealand, it's so weird how patriotic you become about this part of the world.
Well, when you're anywhere else, they think they're part of the same country anyway.
Yeah, and you do start defending it in
New
that
Zealand's
way.
a town in Australia.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, no, it's a state.
It's a state in Australia. Sorry, guys. Just next to Tasmania. You from Brisbane as well?
Yes.
Okay. And you've come to Armageddon's before in New Zealand?
No, never.
Is
Oh,
it
welcome.
overwhelming to hear the deadpan accent that we have? Okay. Neither. It's all good. Any other questions?
Don't be shy.
What was the best part about filming the Almighty Johnson?
The best part about filming the Almighty Johnsons.
Standing naked.
Well, for Emma, it was obviously working with me.
And for Keshia, it was obviously
Very
working with
exciting.
Keshia.
With myself. Very
Um,
exciting.
the working in the forest was funny actually, because that was part of a week that made it the best. So the best part about it was that we kind of created this brotherhood, us Johnson family, and having the boys around to learn on the job with. It was my first big gig, so learning on the job with them was incredible. Except within the first 3 days, I had killed a girl having sex with her and ran out naked. First scene I ever did was running out naked to talk to these guys. Only had a cushion. No, I didn't even have a cushion.
No, I think
No.
you went for it,
I think
didn't you? I mean, that's
no.
what people usually do with new actors.
I
They
had-
go, this is what everyone does. They never wear anything. They
Yeah,
just
you're
go
not
full
meant to.
naked.
Oh,
Okay.
Cool, well, that's weird, but okay, guys. Or like 50 men standing there watching with boom poles and cameras. But yeah, so that scene, I ran out, I had a cushion to cover myself, and then 2 days later we shot in the forest, nothing to cover myself. And the brotherhood, I think, strengthened because of that.
Deep.
Real deep. Well, awkward, but deep. I take those last two words back. But yeah, I think it was creating friendships on that show was pretty incredible. Telling the story itself was a lot of fun, and trying new things that New Zealand hadn't really done, mixing the science fiction with the reality aspect. What about you, Keshia?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited to be a part of a storytelling thing that was so different, and especially at SPP, because I started my career in the same studio that we...
SPP South
Pacific Pictures. They make all of our great television, like Shortland Street. But they, yeah,
I wasn't paid to say that. Why are you saying it so...
It was just, but it was deadpan because of the accent.
Oh,
Yeah, there was no emotion attached
not
to
because you don't believe it.
it. No, of course not. Turning dreams into drama.
SPP do make everything. They're
They do,
an
yeah.
incredible powerhouse of
Incredible.
creation. But this show was
It was
a
very
new
different.
risk, I think
Yeah.
is what you're getting at.
Yeah, exactly. It was very, and the other thing too was there was a lot of, they used a lot of actors that they hadn't, that weren't in their regular shows, which was super exciting, and none of us had, I don't think, they put this cast together and none of us had really ever worked together before, which is strange in New Zealand, like especially if you've been acting for a long time, because you kind of do end up working with everyone eventually, and so there was opportunity to kind of build relationships and like actually build new friendships and discover these characters all at the same time, at the same pace.
And that's the same thing for the crew. Everyone was making something that was new to them. I mean, people knew about Norse mythology or knew about gods or knew about what it's like to live in Auckland, but combining it all together, the crew, we were all learning at the same time. The good parts and the bad side. So
Yeah, it was fun. It was super fun. I remember actually the first, I think I was Gaia pretty early on in the piece, and I met with James Griffin, who was our head writer, like a few times, and we talked about the script, and then they were reading for their Axel / Odin, and I had to come in, and honestly, I
wanted to come in.
I wanted to come in, but it was a weird thing. So much of that character, it's a character that I've played that's the closest to who I am as a person. So it's quite funny, like going back and watching it, because there's so much of it. Like I remember when we started the show, I was living in Waiheke, and like they had to try and convince me to come move back to Auckland because the commute from Waiheke to Henderson every day is almost impossible. And so I came in to read with a sort of selection of people whom they thought would be Axel, and I immediately knew it was Emmett, and it was funny because Emmett was the only person that I didn't know.
The only one you couldn't see eye to eye with.
There was always the height. I mean, we have to stand, it's ridiculous. I don't know how this If you go back and watch the show, I wore a lot of really high platforms. For a nurse guy, I was incredibly impractical. She was constantly running around the hospital in 5-inch platforms,
But that's one of the reasons I thought I didn't have the job too.
Because I was so small.
I walked in there, first it was auditioning with Keshia, and I remember, I told the story to someone yesterday. I remember we were in the auditioning room, it was in one of the studios, and they'd have a fake outdoor window of a house with a little area to kind of perch on kind of thing. So I walked in and we were about to do the audition, and I leant back to try and get lower, and they're like, no, stand up. I was like, fuck. Please just cast me or just tell me to go now. And then the same thing, and then Dean O'Gorman and Jared Turner walk in, and I can't see them.
Really small.
They're not in my eye line. So
there's a lot of there's on film sets they have what they call apple boxes, which are basically just these little wooden boxes, and there was a lot of acting on apple boxes in that show.
They're meant to be for the crew to sort of rest on, or
to
actually
put a camera on.
But there was actually
end up being for Tim Barn, Dean O'Gorman, Jared Turner, and myself.
But Tim Barn, actually, in the forest, you're watching Tim. He's very quiet on set, but you're watching Tim, and he'll just be kind of sitting like this, shuffling his feet together while you're about to shoot. You're like, what the fuck is that guy doing? And then when you're about to shoot, he'll step up and be taller. And, this guy. I think Dean might have got a photo of it, but
that's so
the tricks, whereas I was trying to dig holes to step into.
It's like digging your own grave constantly.
Emmett, you're a foot shorter. I was always this height. Any other questions? You, sir. I can't tell you a lot, but it's a co-production between New Zealand and China, and it's one of the first of its kind. So it's kind of building this new relationship between the countries. So I think within about a month, maybe a bit more will be revealed, but it's all pretty quiet at the moment. Yeah, thanks for asking.
There are lots of secrets in China.
I've never been, so I'm really worried now. What? You just mean in general?
I really should not start this discussion.
You just mean people don't speak a lot, or I should know about that?
No, you'll be right. Just keep in touch.
Emmett hasn't texted me for an hour. He's not coming back. I'm not sure whether to move on from that or not. I'm intrigued, but it may go down a very dark path. Any other thoughts? Yes, you, sir, on the back.
Question for Keshia, Castle-Hughes.
Yes.
In regards to Game of Thrones, what did you like most about filming it, and is there any particular episode, I see you watched the series, that you particularly liked and
I mean, I was a massive fan of the show. I'd read the books years previous to it being a television series, and was kind of in the camp when they were making the show of not believing that they'd be able to pull it off. It felt like, I mean, it's fantasy, and it's set in a time that's nondescript, which didn't feel like it would appeal to the masses. And so the fact that, I mean, I'd like it and we'd all like it, but it was kind of it didn't feel like it was going to become what it has become. And it was incredibly nerve-wracking coming into the show later in the piece because they'd already done 4 seasons and you can't help but be aware of the success of the show. And so my first day on set, I was in Tippity Top in the north of Ireland on a beach in the middle of winter, masquerading as dawn in the middle of summer. And and I remember getting to set and I was like, I haven't kind of felt like that in a very long time. Like I got to set and I was like shaking and I was nervous and...
Since Almighty Johnson's.
Well, yeah, exactly, since Almighty Johnson's. Like I hadn't had that reaction to being at work.
That was a joke, she hated working with me.
I hate it. But, and so I felt like I kind of like Charlie had won the golden ticket. Like I just couldn't believe that I was on the set and that as such a super fan, they would let me on the set. Like that's the thing is I was more concerned, like I constantly felt like they were going to find me out.
Did they know you were a super fan?
I tried, like, so when I first met David Benioff and Debbie Wise, I met them and they've got offices in Los Angeles and I went into their offices and was trying to be very like cool and I read for Obara and they were interested. And they have 1 billion assistants because they do the jobs of thousands of people. And they were in a meeting and so they put me in the waiting room and they had like a throne in the waiting room, like full-size throne, and then they had this whole shelf of toys, like Game of Thrones like toys. And so at first I was trying to sit there patiently and I'm like, Emmett, no, I'm quite childlike. And then I was just like, oh, I can't help myself. So then I was like, oh, I'm sitting on the throne. In the throne. And then
Maybe you were meant to.
No, and then I was like,
It's
oh
weird
my
if you don't.
god, now I'm playing with the toys. Like, and then I was just like, next thing I'm like standing on the throne, like playing with the toys. Like, I'm like, Khaleesi's like talking to Littlefinger. I'm like, hey, hello, how are you? And then I just turned around and they were standing there. And I was like, hey, nice to meet you.
You are cast. That was great. That finger is
So I don't
in.
know how on earth I ended up there, but oh yeah, it's incredible. Like it's a lot of fun. It's exciting as an actor to work and be a part of something that they know exactly what they're doing, and it's like very clear. And also like, it doesn't seem like it, but especially in New Zealand, like you're constantly kind of working against financial and time restraints. And it's exciting to work on something where like those things don't exist. Like you can actually take the time that you need and to kind of get into it, which is very, very rarely afforded. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. My favourite scene, there's so many. There's been so many over the whole series. I remember when I think like the fight scene between Oberyn Martell and the Mountain was one of the most magnificent, like traumatizing scenes in the entire series. It was, and I found out that I was playing Obara the night that episode aired. And I don't know if that was planned, but David and Dan have told me that it wasn't, but like now that I know them, I truly think it was. And so it was a very bizarre thing where I knew, because of the nature of the show, you sign like so many non-disclosure agreements. I couldn't tell a soul. Like I've promised them my next 4 children. And so no one knew. Like my husband didn't know. Like my parents didn't know. It was really weird. And I was watching this episode, and I had like a really intense reaction to it. Like I was just like, and I was sobbing, and I was hysterical. And my friend who I was watching with it was like, dude, like it's just a TV show, like I know we like it, but you're an actor. Like, I just wanted to scream like, it's my father. I'm gonna kill him. Yeah, that was the hardest part actually. It was keeping that secret until they announced it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you could have chosen to be any other god or goddess, who would have you chosen?
Ooh.
Any other god or goddess who we've chosen?
I was really happy that I got to be a Dune for like a minute, but it was like we had so much fun making that show, and I think and especially too is after season 1, I mean it took us a while to kind of like figure it once we found the tone of it, and then the great thing is that like we got a season 2 because of the fans, which was like the most exciting thing because that really happens. We originally weren't going to be able to make a season 2, and then the fans petitioned so hard that we got to.
New Zealand on were like, I don't know what you just made.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're like, which doesn't make any sense.
Oh, but they like it. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
let's do it.
Let's make what?
And so that was the cool thing is that we knew we were making it for the right reasons. Like it was no longer kind of just a job of making television. It was making it because people were invested in it, and which I think kind of makes you a bit more invested in it. And so they had like little time to figure out. James had a very small amount of time to figure out where the stories would go. But originally he always wanted to explore the realms of other gods and goddesses. When we I got really excited when they introduced like the Māori mythology. Because it just created this whole thing of going, oh my god, like it opened up all these possibilities of actually we can introduce all sorts of things from all over the world, which I think if we kept going, and from New Zealand, and if we kept going, that would have been cool because I think internationally, like people would have gone, oh hey, like that's my people, that's my, that's where I come from.
But in terms of another god, I wouldn't mind having Mike's powers of being able to gamble and win.
The bets. We were saying this yesterday. We were like, did we actually have any like powers?
Yeah, I was trying to look it up. I was like,
I think Axel had an anger problem.
Yeah, and he could drink and not get drunk, which is the worst power. The funny thing is, now that we have the show in existence and we have seen these guys and their powers, we also know the flaws of the powers. So I don't know. To be honest, I don't want a power at all.
But then I never bought the Mike having a flaw in his power. Like he was just such a martyr about it. He was such a martyr, but it was like what?
I've got to be morally right.
Yeah,
no,
it's like
don't.
no, not really. Like you can have whatever you want.
Mansion,
Exactly.
You don't have to live above a bar.
Yes.
What do you want to own a bar for?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. He was representing, in terms of our story, he was representing the person who does it for themselves, and it was a good example for Axel to go in that direction. I think Jared Turner's character was trying to do the same thing, but he was a bit miserable.
He really got the short stick though.
Oh man, the guy was so cold. And obviously Anders. He's a bad
I feel like Dean O'Gorman has that power.
Oh, Dean. You're right, he probably does, yeah. But that's the other thing is what Keshia was kind of touching on was what the world James could have carried on building. And I remember having conversations with some of the fans between 2 and 3 about which gods were going to turn up. And someone mentioned, I think it's episode 7 of season 3, where we have Susie turn up when Axel goes to Whangamangamoa, hangs out with Thor, and the girl, is it Thor's daughter?
Yeah.
It is Thor's daughter, right?
Liz, wasn't it?
No, not that one. No, she was, I don't think she had passed. No, this was the one who worked behind the bar in season 3,
yes.
Who Axel was trying to figure out whether he should morally tell her that she was a god or whether she should enjoy her life. Someone guessed it would be the god of drinking. And that's awesome because James himself is a fan of Norse mythology. And by then he was a fan of the show. James Griffin, the writer. So what he wrote was really in line with what the audience wanted to see. And he still does. He still talks about new gods that could have come and would interact this way or that way. So it was a huge world of thinking.
I remember having a conversation with James about the original, how they would introduce like the Māori mythology, and there was talk of, and it was just a lack of kind of being able to pull it off, I think, but there was talk of Olaf's character like surfing and Tangaroa appearing and being like, yo, get off my back, like it's such a pain.
Which instead we had Tangaroa, which was the Samoan god of the sea. There's a funny story behind that. So in the I think it was the final episode or second to last episode in season 3, we if you guys watched it all, you'll remember this. We have this weird meeting in the sea where we're not wearing any clothes, Ben Barrington and I, which didn't need to happen. We could have worn underwear, but we meet the Samoan god of the sea, and then Ben Barrington later on comes into the house and says, "You ready, man?" I'm like, So the scene that was cut out of that was the god of the sea comes to my house, he starts throwing fish at me. The last thing he throws is a squid, which fucking blew up in my face. Ink went everywhere, it stunk. We stopped shooting for like 2 hours and I was always spewing. I had a shower on set for the first time. I didn't know they had showers. I was told to go home and wash each night. So I thought it was pretty rude of them. But I was basically overwhelmed at how badly the end of that scene went. I was like, man, okay, fuck, I hope we got it. They're like, yeah, we got everything we need. I was like, oh, thank you. Go and watch the show and it's not even there. I couldn't believe it. Probably still stink now because of it. And they did have that on camera. They had that little moment before they cut out. So
you need to find that.
It's somewhere in there. I don't need to find it.
I feel like there's when you make a show like that for such a long time as well, there's so much stuff that like is on the cutting room floor.
Oh yeah.
Where you kind of like all of a sudden like you have this sort of flood of memories and go, oh, I wonder where all that footage is and like when.
Yeah. And it's always, I'm pretty sure I did a better take.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure I was better in that scene.
Better. Exactly.
Or where the fuck did they get that from? I was awful.
That definitely wasn't me.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't doing that.
Yeah. But magic of television. You at the back.
Question for Keshia.
Castle-Hughes? This one.
I only like to be referred to my full name.
I came in late. So you've been in Star Wars and Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. Are you like just trying to get the most geek creative by the end of your career?
I was in Vancouver recently where they're shooting the new Star Trek and I like kept trying to convince everyone to just let me walk in the back of shot. I'm gonna just keep going.
You don't have an in with Charlie Barn?
I saw him out there, but he wouldn't really like let me be on his show. Remember that.
You.
So while on set, did you get to ad-lib
Do we get to ad-lib a little bit?
Yes.
Well, I always do because I never learn my lines.
Keshia's so natural on camera. It's because they're
Because
her
she's
own
got no
words.
other choice.
They gave us a little bit of leverage on what we had to say and what the character had to say, but for the most part it was written so well and so specifically that you did kind of want to stay within the guidelines because it was already clear, but there were a few directors who would say, okay, cool, so we got that. If you did want to put in your own thing, we'll do another take where you maybe take out that line because it's not working for you, or we add that bit to make it make more sense for you, or that kind of thing. But it was written reasonably clearly, especially in the second and third season. Like
eventually
they
the
knew us by then.
that's the thing that they know you, and I think it's like across the board and on anything you're working on, especially if it's set in the modern day and a character that is close to who you are. You have to be very careful when you're talking to your writers. I was recently having a conversation with a good friend of mine, fellow Kiwi, Rose McIver, who's in iZombie, and it's like amazing. But she said, like, in the first season of iZombie, the writers would talk to her and say, oh, like, do you have any special skills? And, she's like, oh, I'm trying to impress them. And, she's like, oh, yeah, well, I can sing the national anthem with my legs crossed backwards over my head. Just you're trying to sound cool.
Is that on the internet?
And then, where do I see that? She's like, the next thing, 2 weeks later, you're sitting in a writer's room and it's like, and Liv this week is sitting on a bed with her legs crossed backwards behind her head singing the national anthem. And so
never talking to them again.
Yeah, exactly. So you learn very quickly to try not to over exaggerate, which is not an easy feat for many actors.
No, and that's the thing about Johnson's is that for James Griffin, after the first season of getting to know who we were and how we played the characters, we didn't have to ad-lib in season 2 and 3 because he already got the vibe of what the characters want to say and how we say things best.
I felt like I was in therapy sometimes making that show. Like I would get scripts and be like, how does he know so
I
much
just
about
want to go back to my father's
I
wedding
know,
patch
I
on
was like,
Wade.
why does he know this? James Griffin's reading my diary.
But that's the other thing about ad-libbing. There's a danger for an actor, or I guess it's for the makers of the show, that an actor will end up using themselves to inform what the character has to say. And that's not playing the character anymore. That's making it easier for Emmett to do Emmett's job. And most of the reason a line is written the way it is because it's what the character does.
And
so you're trying to bring that to life.
moves your story forward. That's a key thing. It doesn't just become the show of kind of that person. It's important that everything you're doing on screen is informing the story that you're telling.
I think it was the same episode where Zeb got lit on fire at your birthday.
I wish Hayden was here.
Yeah, I don't know where that guy is.
Where is Hayden?
Yeah, I think he's in Wellington now. We can talk later about that. There's nothing negative, I was just like, that's not that interesting for them. I remember Mark Beasley, who looks like a wizard and ended up producing, that's irrelevant, but ended up producing the 3rd season, but in the first 2 seasons he was directing. He came up to me afterwards and was like, you added a fuck, didn't you? Yeah, I probably did. And we'll go again. Okay. Okay, cool. So they are very specific, especially with swear words. On TV,
because
you
they
already
have a
don't say a
limit
certain
as well.
amount.
You have a limit, and then because we had at one point we had like the 8 o'clock slot, which is quite tricky because you actually can't have swear words before 8:30, and so they have to time out the script. So if you like, so these, I think it's in season 1 we were the 8 o'clock slot, so it's quite funny.
8:30, and you can't
and
before
so
9.
yeah, so lots of the episodes are just like. They're very clear, and then all of a sudden, half an hour, and it's just like, fuck. You're like,
It is 9 o'clock.
Hey, TV3, what's up?
But I do know that they secretly, accidentally, but possibly not, one of the directors, who I will not name, you know, Muzz, got in one of the Outrageous Fortune episodes, got the C word in before 8:30, and no one knew it until it was on air. Everyone went. Everyone's job was to make that not happen.
That's what happens when you hire a certain director.
Well, there goes the neighbourhood. Any other questions?
Hey.
This one's for Emmett. Did you find it hard to get into character for your 7 periods?
Yeah. Thanks for watching, man. There's a funny story behind that one. 7 periods with Mr. Gormsby was my first my first role on TV. I think I was maybe 14 or 15. And the director, Danny Mulheron, who is fantastic and he's still around, he just directed Dean in Hillary, which is about to come out on New Zealand TV. Danny came to an improvisation show that I was doing, so I did a lot of improv growing up. And Danny came up to me afterwards and was like, hey, I loved what you did up there. That character you were playing with was really fun. We'd like you to audition for something. I was like, okay, yeah, come on. Yeah, that's exciting. Turned out to be a, in quote marks, retarded Dutch boy. And it was the most fun I've ever had in my life. It's a guy who sits there getting a boner in class while people I still work with now, Dina Kennedy, who's an actress and a coach around. I get an erection in her class. In Tandy Wright's class, I think I shit myself. And, I can't remember what else I did. It was not difficult at all to get into character. It was just great. He let me just go free. Danny is the kind of person that will let you ad-lib. He's like, nah, fuck it. Nah, just try something else. So that was liberating, that role. And that was being my first intro to acting. It's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is it. Yeah. I won't go there. Any other questions?
Hi, good afternoon. This is for Keshia.
Castle-Hughes? Oh, I won't make that joke again, but thanks.
You once appeared in Brotown. Why?
And he's holding the umbrella like a mic too. It was awesome. Why were you in Brotown?
Because they're my friends and it was fun. Actually, it was.
What character did you play, Keshia Castle-Hughes?
I played Keshia Castle-Hughes in Brotown. Cow. I will never. Although it was kind of a weird period of my life because I wasn't very good at like acting out what I said I wanted, and so as a teenager I was like, oh, I don't want to draw any more attention to myself, so I'm going to go on a cartoon where little teenage boys will go piao piao Keshia, I love you. So I spent a lot of
Keshia.
Yeah, I love you Keshia, piao piao. So I spent a lot of time at high school with boys.
I actually probably said that before I met you.
Yeah. A lot of people said that. It was. But my friends made it. They're like very dear friends of mine, and it was
And one of them
fun.
was actually on our show as the Samoan god, Mario.
Yeah. A lot of fun. And my daughter, who's 8 now, it was actually her first and only ever acting job. We did a character arc of Keshia when I had a baby and Keshia in the cartoon had a baby. What? Oh my gosh, what? And Jeff was like very, he brought his friends, because I was Jeff the Māori's cousin. And then he would bring his friends, and his friends would all hit on me, and then they were all very upset because I'd had a baby. And just highlighting New Zealand statistics, we were. And so
what were you guys trying to do in Nativity Story?
Yeah. But yeah, it was Felicity's first job. I took her into the studio when she was 5 days old. And we didn't purposefully like pinch her or anything, but she kind of like, we were like, oh, cry baby, cry. And then she cried, and so we've actually got in our house, we've got 2 framed cartoon pictures of her and I in her bedroom. Yeah, it's very funny.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah. So, what was it like for you to start acting at such an early age, and then going on from that, the transition for you from being in New Zealand industry into Hollywood and big time productions?
It's kind of a weird thing. I mean, it's strange because I've done it longer than I haven't. So now it's probably much more normal for me to be doing this than, I don't know, what else I would have been doing.
You got into acting in a very different way from me. I knew I wanted to do it, and you were found at school, weren't you?
Yeah, they just found me at school, and I was like being naughty, so unlike me, in school, and they asked me to audition for Whale Rider, and so it was. And I think it's weird when I think back on it now, because I think when I was younger I used to say that I wanted to be an actor, but I feel like any girl who's before they're 10 years old wants to grow up and be an actor, or a pop star, or a fairy. Like those are kind of no one's really like, oh yeah, can't wait to grow up and like be an accountant.
But I'll just pause you there. If anyone's seen the new Barbie ad, find it, watch it. It's an incredible.
What, is she an accountant now?
She's a lecturer, she's a scientist, she's a vet. It's incredible. It says great things for the future of how women are portrayed on TV. Anyway, continue. Seriously, find it.
So I mean, it's been an interesting transition. From being young to being an adult, but I've been very lucky to be sort of very well looked after in the New Zealand film industry, and I've had a lot of incredible people who have mentored me, and I was able to work at home for a long time before I went overseas, and it just eventually became like the natural step to go away and work. And it's very different, but there's such a big respect for the New Zealand film industry, and especially in like Hollywood. And as soon as people hear that you're a Kiwi, they immediately know that you've got a good work ethic and that you know what you're doing. And so, whatever I work on, I always find a cluster of Kiwis somewhere. On Game of Thrones, there's currently 32 Kiwis in the crew. When they started in season 1, there were 2. And then they just call up all their mates and now.
Hey bro, got a gig, eh? Jumping.
Sorry, Emmett. Is this for Keshia?
Such an
Hollywood seems to love dressing up Kiwis as zombies like they would Cliff in the Fear the Walking Dead and Rose and stuff. Did you enjoy being a zombie on The Walking
Dead?
I did.
I had an option. I was a big fan of Walking Dead, and I had the option to play another character or Joan, and the other character didn't really get to become a walker, and I was like, that's what I want to do it for. I was like, if I'm going to go on the show, obviously I'm going to make it worth it. I had a lot of fun. I mean, it was a pretty intense character arc. I'd get eaten by a zombie, get my arm cut off, kill myself, become a zombie, and then take revenge and kill a very bad man. So,
those of you that haven't seen it, I'm sorry. She just runs her bloody mouth.
Yeah, sorry, spoilers. It was a lot of fun. It's incredible because it's one of the only television shows that's still shot on film, which is why it looks so amazing. Yeah, so because if they shot with the way that they do the makeup, they use a very sort of old school style of doing makeup, and they don't which is much more minimal. And so if they shot that in HD, they would look like people made up as zombies.
I have a question for you. This is for Keshia Castle-Hughes. Working on film and then working on digital, are there differences in terms of being an actor?
Am I that old? I'm that old. I
You were here before film.
I remember when I started working and they stopped saying check the gate.
Check the gate.
And I was like, guys, don't you guys want to check the gate? They used to say check the gate when you shoot, or they still do when you shoot film, because you shoot on film and then you've got to check that you didn't get any hairs or that it actually shot.
Or let light in and ruined everything.
And ruined, and so, but now it doesn't matter because it's fancy new digital cameras. It's faster on digital,
right?
yeah. You don't have to, it's much faster.
And much less precious, I'd imagine.
Oh,
a lot to buy
you've
film.
you've got more time, which is nice, because you can actually afford to muck it up. You try not to, but if something happens, there's not as much pressure. You didn't just cost whoever's paying for it a lot of money. Yeah.
Any other questions? Right at the back, man. That's not for me.
Well done.
I'll answer them.
Marcella.
Yeah, in a petty fight by Prince Overall's sister.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how long that's going to come back to the next race to fight in her ass, because her brother had already forgiven her once for plotting, and he said, I believe in second chances, but something along the lines, but there's no third chances. So I'm just wondering how long that's going to come back to him, and he's going to basically go through the ceiling and make an example.
Can I just firstly ask, have you watched the season once?
Yeah, I've watched the series.
You have an amazing memory. I felt like you were there.
I can't tell you.
I'll tell you, yes. Yeah.
I mean, in the way that the world of the Game of Thrones works, killing Marcella's definitely pissed a lot of people off. And Dawn wasn't, I don't think, a part of the cog in the way that the wheel spins in the fight for the throne, and now have made themselves very visible to the people in King's Landing. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, another question is, this is for those fan of the show watching, assuming that Jon Snow does survive.
He's dead. Who would I like to see him get along with?
So get along or get it on? Get it on.
Get it on with. Oh.
What's your character's name?
Abara.
Okay.
I can't. I don't know. It's but Jon Snow's not one of my. He's like one of my least favourite characters on the show. I find him so boring. I just I was like really quite happy that whole thing was over. But there's lots of kind of, and I mean we always kind of, all of us actors, like we all, none of us work together, but we all kind of like meet each other and see each other in the crossovers, and we all kind of fantasize about what characters we would like to kind of just see team up. Arya Stark's always been my favourite character. She's incredible, and I would be very, very happy if the Sand Snakes, or even if it was just Obara and the other two disappeared and I got to hang out with Arya, that would be awesome.
Has Peter Jackson ever called either of you up?
No.
Peter Jackson?
Don't know what his problem is.
Jackson. No, but that's sort of how Dean got into The Hobbit, which was really exciting for him. Yeah. So Dean was a slightly special choice for the whole thing, and no, I don't mean that. I don't know whether the story is public, so I can't say. But Dean's a woman, so that's why it was special. I was like, you want him to play a man? No. He's got my number.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you still meet up and hang out with the other crew from Almighty Johnson's?
Honestly, not enough, but we do. Yeah. We have an awesome time when we hang out. Recently, James Griffin is always keen to hang out. Absolutely loves it.
James is so down.
Yeah.
I always end up in the weirdest places with James, because I don't know if like many people know what James Griffin looks like as well. Like he looks, what does he look like?
Keisha's digging herself a hole.
James is just like a lot older than me, but we always end up doing stuff that I feel like I'm too old to be doing, which is like, recently, like his wife, him and I were at like the last laneways, and we all like atrociously drunk, and it was like there were teenagers that
usually
were being
daytime
better,
still.
yeah, like it was daytime still, and there were definitely teenagers that were better behaved than we were. But he's a lot of fun. His wife is amazing too.
Well, we do hang out a lot. I think Jared and Dean were doing renovations on Jared's house on Thursday.
Aww.
Yeah. I wasn't invited. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to do it. It's not enough. It's funny when you, like I was saying before, this brotherhood or family with all the, obviously the ladies involved, because you won't say brotherhood, yeah? Are we brothers?
I mean, I feel like I'm a bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about the other girls. They're a bit precious about stuff.
So the family, it's kind of special when we get together, because we made such a connection over 3 years that you just kind of fit back into that comfortable, excited about the world and what we're all doing kind of realm. So
yeah, it's a long time to work with each other. Yeah.
But I was speaking to James. It was his birthday recently, and we said we should all have a catch up. And
I only ever see Emmett in America.
That's true. Yeah, pool parties.
Big America.
But James and Dean are now working. James wrote West Side, the new Outrageous Fortune show, pretty cool. And Dean's just started to jump on board with that. And I spoke to James saying we should hang out. And then I spoke to Dean about 3 days later, and he said, "Why was James reaching across the table going, folk moot, to me while we were reading?" I was like, probably because James wants to hang out with us all. And a folk moot is a Norse hangout.
Norse hangout.
So we'll hang out. We'll tell you all where and when.
Yeah, you guys can all come.
We'll just hang out. That's what. Where would it have gone? It would have gone. Here's probably where it would have gone. There would have been the challenge of being mortal and still having to fight. gods, which was most likely going to be Loki with that red stone thing. So it would have been, the challenge would have still been present, but it would have been much less weight on Axel's shoulders of trying to fulfill something, and instead maybe trying to defend something or fix something that he caused. And there was an original, I'm going to say it, I'm not sure whether I meant to, but there was an original end of episode, the final episode. One of the original thoughts was that we were on a beach and we were hanging out and everything was all fine, and then I think one of us gets hit by lightning, something along these lines, and then that's kind of the gods are still up there, and then I can't remember what it was, but it was like something epic comes from the ocean kind of thing, and that's the end. So there were, I think they went,
sounds like a real stinky.
No, what it sounds like is, we might not get another season, so we probably should just put a rock in a forest instead.
Yeah.
Let's not have a monster coming out, just in case we don't get one. So there's it's only up to guesswork where characters might have gone, but for Axel, I think it would have been saving the world from a point of view of not having the powers he wants to. Oh, ice cream is over that way.
Is it free?
I did wonder. Hold on, buddy. Just wait till that. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I read not too long ago that James Cameron's in New Zealand currently working on the sequence to Avatar.
Yeah.
I was wondering if either of the two have been approached and involved in some way.
Yeah.
Avatar is such a big production that it is currently still being kind of. They'll film it when they're ready. So I think I have no clue how the castings are working, but I know that it's very much still in process of figuring out where everyone fits in. But James Cameron has my number.
Yeah,
So,
I met him recently. He did a screening of the Deadlands. He did like James Cameron presents the Deadlands at like a bunch of cinemas all over the States, which was really cool.
And if you haven't seen Deadlands, you should.
You
as well.
should. It's
That's
like
fantastic.
it's like an amazing action film. Like that's the thing. It's so well done.
All in Māori.
And all in Māori. So he did that, which was really cool. So I think he's very happy to be a part of New Zealand now. Yeah. He pretty much like owns the other half of what Peter Jackson doesn't own, like down there. So the other side of the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, between them, they are New Zealand.
They are New
chemistry.
Zealand.
They are New Zealand. Them and Keshia.
Yeah. James Jackson, Peter Cameron, and Keshia Castle-Hughes.
Peter Cameron. Yep. That's why you didn't get the call. Any other questions? We're done. We are done.
Everybody, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Have a good afternoon. Enjoy. Bye.